This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Mark Martin. The Southern Poverty Law Center and its leadership, tangled in controversy, recently fired co-founder Morris Dees. Founded to fight racism, its leaders are now accused of it and the mistreatment of women. Here's CBN's Dale Hurd.
Once upon a time, the Southern Poverty Law Center served as a champion in the civil rights struggle. Now it's engulfed in scandal, facing charges of racism and more, with critics saying it strayed far from its beginnings. It's said that the SPLC helped put the Ku Klux Klan out of business. Klan membership used to be in the millions. Today, it's only a few thousand. But when you look at the SPLC's map of hate groups in America today, one would think America is consumed with hate. Or is it? But this is a new version of hate, because the SPLC needed to find new enemies to fight. One of those new enemies is former Vanderbilt history professor Dr. Carol Swain. Swain grew up in the Old South and fought poverty and racism to become a university professor. She's an expert on white nationalism, but she's publicly attacked the SPLC, and Swain, a conservative Christian, found herself on the SPLC's hate list as, quote, an apologist for white supremacists. Other SPLC targets have included Dr. Ben Carson, who was then removed from the SPLC hate list, female genital mutilation victim Hersey Ali, and even small charities like the Ruth Institute, whose mission is to help families and children. The Ruth Institute said, if this makes us a hate group, so be it. Among the list of Christian groups on the SPLC's hate map are many local churches, usually because they oppose the gay agenda. It includes the Family Research Council. Executive Vice President General Jerry Boykin, when asked about it, doesn't pull any punches.
Well, SPLC, first of all, you need to understand, is probably one of the most evil groups in America. They've become a money-making machine, and they've become an absolute Marxist, anarchist organization.
Also on the list, the Christian legal group Alliance Defending Freedom.
They did good work many years ago, but the SPLC lost its way a long time ago.
Carrie Kupek at ADF dismissed the SPLC as a, quote, direct mail scam, but marvels at the SPLC's revenues with assets north of $300 million.
I have never heard of a group with poverty in its name that has so much money.
Apple, J.P. Morgan, and actor George Clooney are just a few who have given millions to the SPLC. There's so much money coming in that some of it's going into offshore investments. The SPLC says their listing of Christian groups who oppose the LGBT agenda is completely unrelated to religion, Christianity, or the Bible. These groups are listed because they repeatedly lie in an effort to defame LGBT people. In 2007, SPLC spokesman Mark Potok, in this blurry video from a conference in Michigan, said,
I want to say plainly that our aim in life is to destroy these groups, to completely destroy them.
Dale Hurd, CBN News.
Jeremy Tedesco, Senior Counsel and Vice President of U.S. Advocacy and Administration with the Alliance Defending Freedom, joins us now with more. His organization was actually named a hate group by the SPLC. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks for having me on.
What can you tell us about the scandal happening with the SPLC?
Well, today's SPLC is aggressively anti-Christian and morally bankrupt, both inside and out. We've seen that Morris Dees was fired, their founder. We just saw that Richard Cohen, their longtime president, resigned amidst allegations of race and gender discrimination within the organization. But it's not just that. They've been long understood to be a partisan progressive hit operation. They basically spread lies and attack anybody, any group that disagrees with their far-left agenda. And this has been something that has been said for years by charity watchdogs, by commentators on both sides of the aisle, by investigative journalists. We know that today's America has no place for SPLC, and it's time they just close their doors.
Your group and others have been damaged by being on the SPLC's hate group list. Have they redefined hate, and have they helped feed the culture war?
Well, sure, this is the danger with the hate label, is it's completely malleable. You can call anybody you disagree with a hater and try to ostracize them and push them out of polite society. That is the SPLC's goal. And the scary thing about it is they target Christian organizations, mainstream organizations that believe things that millions of people across the world share. And they don't want to have honest debates with us. They just want to call us names and push us out of polite society. There's no place for that. We want to have debates. We want to have robust dialogue with people with different points of view. They don't. They want to spread lies and misinformation about organizations they disagree with. And look, they've been sued over this several times over the last year and a half. They even had to pay a $3.375 million settlement to a Muslim reformer, Majid Nawaz, over their defamation of his character. Alliance Defending Freedom has won 9 cases at the Supreme Court since 2011. We're a powerful force for good in our society. We fight for free speech and free exercise and conscience rights of people from all walks of life. The SPLC shouldn't be attacking us.
Do you think that the list will go to the wayside in the midst of the scandal?
What I'd like to see the SPLC do is suspend their list right now. It no longer has any credibility, any moral authority whatsoever. They should suspend that list. There should be an investigation. The investigation should have public accountability associated with it. And if they want to set themselves up as the moral conscience of the country, as the public's arbiter of hate, they need to be accountable and transparent to people. The reality is they're far away from their founding, and they really just attack their perceived political opponents. And there's no place for that in a culture that respects and wants to encourage free dialogue, open debate, and respect and tolerance for people with different points of view.
And quickly, will progressives and the mainstream media change their mind about the SPLC because of all of this?
Well, this is something I'd really like to see. The media needs to stop repeating the SPLC's hate group list like it's gospel truth. Corporations like Amazon, Microsoft, and others need to stop relying on SPLC for their hate group listings. Their hate group listings are utterly and completely politicized and partisan. And those corporations are, they're maligning the character of millions of their own customers by continuing to rely on an organization that is becoming this aggressively anti-Christian and morally bankrupt.
All right, Jeremy Tedesco with Alliance Defending Freedom. Thank you so much for your insights, sir.
Thank you.
Vermont filed a lawsuit Tuesday against 2 pharmaceutical distributors. The state accuses them of selling ever-increasing amounts of prescription opioids in the state while failing to effectively monitor and control the sales. The lawsuit claims Cardinal Health Incorporated and McKesson Corporation committed unfair and deceptive acts and practices, were negligent, and their behavior constitutes a public nuisance. Vermont Attorney General T.J. Donovan said they essentially opened the gate and let the flood of these pills come into this state and overwhelm the state of Vermont. John Parker, spokesman for the Healthcare Distribution Alliance, replied to the suit saying the idea that distributors are responsible for the number of opioid prescriptions written defies common sense and lacks understanding of how the pharmaceutical supply chain actually works and is regulated. About a dozen states have pending lawsuits against distributors, the Attorney General's office said. House Minority Whip Steve Scalise is pushing forward with legislation that would save the lives of babies born after a botched abortion. The Louisiana Republican said all the Democrats who ran saying they were pro-life, this is going to be the true test. Scalise and Representative Ann Wagner are introducing a discharge petition next week that would force a vote on the Born Alive Survivors Protection Act. The bill would give legal protection to an infant born alive after a failed abortion. House Democrats have blocked requests to pass the bill by unanimous consent 20 times. If Scalise and Wagner get the 218 signatures needed, they can go around Democratic leadership and bring the legislation to the floor for a vote. The FDA is cracking down on organizations that sell abortion pills over the internet. Organizations like aidaccess.org and Rablon were issued letters from the FDA ordering them to stop selling unapproved abortion drugs immediately. Aid Access has been under investigation since October. The organization would take orders from women in the U.S. and fill the prescriptions in India. Meanwhile, the governor of Utah has signed into law a bill that bans abortions after 18 weeks gestation. And a federal judge declared a North Carolina law unconstitutional, for banning abortions after 20 weeks. An associate professor at Towson University in Maryland has reportedly denied students the opportunity to complete a pro-life project while openly supporting abortion. The course offered at the university is Sexuality in Diverse Societies. According to a report in the College Fix, students say the professor encouraged them to support Planned Parenthood. The class syllabus also reportedly showed students regularly discussed different sexual behaviors such as pornography and sexual orientation. Students were also told that abortion is a backup contraceptive. Kristen Hawkins with Students for Life told the College Fix the abuse of power by the professor illustrates why President Donald Trump's free speech protections on colleges and university campuses are vital. The College Fix reports Carter declined to be interviewed for its story. That is the professor. The Federal Aviation Administration said a Southwest Airlines Boeing 737 MAX made a safe emergency landing today in Orlando after experiencing an engine problem. No passengers were on board as the aircraft was being ferried to California, where Southwest is storing the airplanes. Aviation authorities around the world grounded Boeing 737 MAX aircraft earlier this month following deadly crashes involving the plane model in Ethiopia and off the coast of Indonesia, which happened within 5 months of each other. The Transportation Department is still investigating the aircraft and its new control system, which is believed to be a major source of the problem. Coming up, a look into a new shocking and powerful film meant to shed light on the truths of the abortion industry.
Your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
We're going to talk about some of the incredible promises God has made to His children.
In Pat Robertson's newest teaching, you'll discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation, and see amazing stories of God's promises in action.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Break free from stress and despair.
The Lord doesn't want you to live in fear, but to know the rewards given to those who love God.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, your path to overcoming fear and anxiety.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Welcome back. Unplanned, the highly anticipated film about a former Planned Parenthood director turned pro-life activist, is being called the movie for such a time as this. But the pro-life film is not without controversy. It was recently assigned an R rating by the Motion Picture Association of America. Charlene Aaron sat down with the cast and crew for their reaction to the rating.
Abby Johnson is in the other room.
Unplanned takes viewers inside the abortion industry with this real-life story of a former clinic director for Planned Parenthood.
Sorry to bother you, but they need an extra person in the back room.
In 2009, Abby Johnson walked away from the Texas clinic after watching an abortion via ultrasound. Much of her personal life is played out on the big screen, including the time she herself had 2 abortions.
It's a very vulnerable place to be, to sort of expose some of your greatest wounds and hurts to the public. But, you know, in the end, it's, I mean, this film's really not about me. I didn't do this so that Abby Johnson would be a household name. I did this so that, you know, God's redemption, that would be known in every household.
Actress Ashley Bratcher delivers a powerful performance in her role as Johnson. She credits divine help with the scene involving what Johnson experienced after taking an abortion pill to terminate her second pregnancy.
That was nothing but the Holy Spirit. I like to go into a room that I'm going to perform in, especially if it's supposed to be my bedroom or my bathroom. I want to go in before the scene starts so that I know where my stuff is, because I would in real life. And I remember walking into that room for the first time, just by myself, there's no one else around, and wanting to lay on the floor and cry because I could just feel the presence of God so strongly. It was like our prayer team had just been walking that set. They knew how critical this scene in particular was, and they had just been walking through it and praying all over it. And I had done tons of research. I knew what the physical impediment was going to have to entail, so that when I got into the moment, I could really just try my hardest to emotionally think what she must have been thinking and feeling like she was going to die from that.
That scene is one of two reasons the Motion Picture Association of America gave the film an R rating, calling it, quote, bloody and disturbing. The film's writers and directors, Carrie Solomon and Chuck Konzelman, believe the R rating is biased and political.
I want to delve just a little bit into the fact that it did receive an R rating. Were you anticipating that? Were you surprised? What's your response to that?
Hollywood is about politics. It's not about making movies. It's sad. It's about propaganda with Hollywood. And, you know, we are pro-life guys in a pro-choice town. And so we are not liked, and the movie is not going to be liked. So to expect that they would give us a fair rating, okay, not going to happen. So we kind of knew that we wished for the best, understood that the worst could possibly happen. And when we got the R, didn't surprise us.
I live in a country where my daughter can go out at 13. She can get an abortion without parental consent, but she can't go to see this movie.
Johnson addressed those concerns in a letter to parents.
I'm a parent of a 12-year-old daughter who, you know, has seen the film, and I was getting a lot of questions. I think that we have a responsibility to protect children, but also to be very open with them about these sorts of issues. And I think especially with the R rating, there were a lot of people coming to me and saying, Abby, is this okay for my 14-year-old? Because people wanted to bring their children in, but they needed some guidance.
Given recent radical abortion laws in New York and other states, Carrie and Konzelman say the timing of Unplanned couldn't be better.
This is sort of our last wake-up call, I think, politically, because these laws are being enacted now. We, as Americans, as people of faith, one of two things is going to happen. We're either going to rise up and say this is wrong, or we're going to become accustomed to it, and it's going to become the new norm.
Actress Robia Scott, who's also an ordained minister, plays the head of Texas's Planned Parenthood. She says in the end, the film's message is one of hope and forgiveness.
As a minister, I love that it's not preachy. This is not sort of your typical Christian-y, cheesy, preachy, let me throw a lot of scriptures at you, sister. That's not this film. This is a quality story. It's beautifully shot. It's beautifully written. It's beautifully acted, if I may say so myself. And it's just compelling. It's a compelling story that, regardless of what side you stand on, pro-choice or pro-life, you cannot come out of the movie the same way as when you entered.
And it's not a film that's condemning people.
It's not condemning. There's no shame. There's no pointing fingers. Really, honestly, the essence of the film is hope. It's restoration, that regardless of what choices you've made, because look, we've all made choices, and there's restoration, that God forgives, and that you can move forward in your life.
The makers of Unplanned say their ultimate desire is that a movie would make a difference in saving the lives of countless unborn babies. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Wow, looks powerful. Unplanned opens in theaters this Friday, March 29th. Still ahead, we're going to take a look at some key players and highlights as March Madness continues. Back in a moment.
Parents, the Superbook Bible app is a great way to get your child reading the Bible because in today's busy world, we can use some help. The free Superbook Bible app has fun stuff your kids will love. They'll have a blast learning the Bible, playing great games, watching cool videos, discovering heroes in the Bible. They'll have fun while they learn God's Word. The Superbook Kids Bible app, available now.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
March Madness is underway, and it's time for the Sweet 16. CBN sports reporter Sean Brown joins us now to talk about it. Sean, welcome.
What's up, Mark? How are you, man?
Yeah, good to have you on the program. Well, first of all, one of the big talkers is the matchup between the University of North Carolina and Auburn. Talk about that.
Well, you got two teams that like to run, two teams that can shoot well. Auburn hasn't been to an Elite Eight since 1986, so they're hungry for a win. It's been a long time since the school has gotten that far. But it's going to be a great match. At the end of the day, when you enter this tournament, it's all about buying into what your coach is telling you at this stage of the game. Buying into what your coach is telling you. Do you buy into what he's telling you to do in those late minutes? Can you shoot? Can you communicate? That's what's going to determine who advances to the 8 and then to the Final Four. Let's look at shooting. You have to be able to shoot the 3. Just looking at UNC, you've got team leaders, Cam Johnson shooting at 46%, Kobe White shooting at 36%, Luke May shooting at 28%, that's at the 3-point line. Auburn, not too far behind. You've got Bryce Brown shooting at averaging 15 points a game, shooting at 40% beyond the arc. Jared Harper, also one of the team's leaders, shooting at 37% beyond the arc. It's going to come down to who can make those shots. Who do I have winning? I got to go with North Carolina just on sheer experience. But it's going to be an exciting game. I expect a lot of shots to be made up and down the court, all the way down to the late minutes.
Yeah, I have North Carolina over Auburn as well. So quick question for you. What else can we expect to see in the Sweet 16? Anything to mix it up a little bit?
Upsets.
Yeah.
Upsets. I'll just tell you, I'm watching number 1 Virginia and number 12 Oregon. I think Oregon can beat Virginia. Will they? I'm not sure, but they definitely have the ability to be able to do it. They're a very defensive team. Can Virginia respond to that defensive approach? I think it's going to be a great game. That's the one I'm watching as an upset. I think it's really, really going to be awesome. I'm also excited about Duke, Virginia Tech. They beat them before in the conference without Zion Williamson. This time they'll have Zion Williamson. I'm looking forward to watching that matchup. But again, it comes down to the numbers. It comes down to the leaders. Who's going to make those big shots when they count. It's going to be a rough game, but I think it's going to be exciting.
But Duke, you know, they had a scare in the last round.
They did. They only went up by 1. They almost got knocked out.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's March Madness. Anybody can knock anybody out of the race.
That's so
Who
true.
wants it more? Who's more consistent? Who can communicate? Who buys into what coach is saying? Who believes it? And who shows up on game night? That's what it's going to come down to.
And who pushes through that fatigue? You know, you're getting into the tournament.
When your hands are shaking, you're sweaty. Can you focus enough? Work through the fatigue. Stay focused on the basket and make those shots when they count.
And mental is so important. They got to stay mentally tough, these teams, to make it all the way and become the champion.
Absolutely.
All right, I started to say NBA sports reporter, our CBN sports reporter, Sean Brown, thank you so much for your insights.
So welcome.
We appreciate it.
Hey, I got the Duke boys going all the way, man.
Hey, they might do it.
Duke Blue Devils.
Maybe that last round will wake them up.
I know that's right.
All right, thanks, Sean. Well, coming up, Pope Francis honors the life work of one missionary who has delivered close to 3,000 babies.
When you give, smiles grow bigger. When you care, homes are happier. When you comfort, the hurt goes away. When we all come together to love, miracles happen.
Hello, I'm Terry Newsom. Did you know there are more than 148 million orphans in the world today? 148 million. But it was 3 little girls that taught me about the plight of orphans. My husband and I spent nearly a month immersed in the daily activities of a Ukrainian orphanage as we waited to adopt 3 sisters. I saw firsthand the utter loneliness, the pain of rejection, and the overwhelming desire to be loved. That experience changed me forever. And out of it grew a ministry from my heart called Orphans Promise. Today, we're helping orphans and vulnerable children in more than 50 countries worldwide. Thousands of children are now in safe homes. They're being educated, and they're learning life skills. I'm asking you to join with me and become family to these children. Will you call the number on your screen right now? Because every child deserves a chance to be happy.
Hello? Is this thing on? Hey, kids, do you love games? And do you love discovering things? Well, do ya?
Then you're gonna love this. It's the new free Superbook Kids Bible app. You can play games, watch videos, find answers to your questions, and a whole lot more. The new Superbook Kids Bible app. Free downloads available on iTunes and Google Play now.
Pope Francis gave a special Medal of Honor to an 85-year-old nun who has delivered 3,000 babies. Sister Marie Conchetta Esu has worked as a missionary obstetrician in the Central African Republic for 60 years. The Pope met Esu in that country's capital city in 2015. Thousands gathered at the Vatican to watch the ceremony. The Pope thanked Esu for her work that she has done in Africa. A wonderful pro-life story to end this newscast. That's it for this edition of Newswatch. We hope you'll join us next time. Have a great day.